Good morning. Welcome to Screen Junkies Universe. It's Thursday. It's going to be a great day. Danielle Radford is here.
Hi, hello, and thank you, Professor.
You're welcome, my student. Okay.
Okay.
Joe Starr is here. Spencer Gilbert. I'm Roth, Cornet, and we got a lot to talk about. You guys, The Rock has some pretty harsh words for Vin Diesel, so we're going to get to return to that Fast and the Furious beef, which is our favorite thing. But first, a Lady Indiana Jones.
What?
Record scratch, dog puts paws over eyes.
And Black Panther gets another first. We're going to talk about that, starting with Mr. Steven Spielberg has been shedding some light on Indiana Jones 5. This is via The Hollywood Reporter, and he is teasing the idea of an Indiana Joan. He talked to The Sun earlier this week and suggested a potential Lady Dr. Jones. Quote, we'd have to change the name from Jones to Joan.
No, you wouldn't.
That doesn't make a ton of sense because Jones is the last name and Joan is a first. Joan Jones.
Well, don't you know when women get married to a man, our last names just become the feminine version of their first name. That's how it works.
Now,
I just like the idea of Joan Jones.
Steven is, old school Hollywood, so there is a good chance he doesn't know how a woman's name works.
Okay.
I don't know.
No, they never said that. It was always just, that's why they always like sweetie, baby, darling, puppy.
Yeah.
Toots.
Yeah.
I'm fine with this as long as we get Lawrence Croft Tomb Raider. Real short cargo shorts and like lots of male cleavage somehow.
And just like a real tight wife beater.
I think, one for one.
It's not a good
just that Reno 911,
Yes, the dangle shorts.
The dangle shorts.
So they're reuniting for the 5th installment of Indiana Jones, as we know. We've talked about this next April. And he said this will be Harrison Ford's last Indiana Jones movie. I'm pretty sure. But it will continue after that. So Ford is out. Joan potentially in.
Oh, he's about to keep saying great stuff.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get
more
to
stuff
it.
happens.
He went on to say that he is considering this in light of Me Too and the Time's Up movement, saying, I've been very lucky to be influenced by women, several of whom I've just loved madly, like my mom and my wife. And he also said that he's devoted to keeping everybody equally paid in his movies. So that's nice. Indiana Jones. Joan, Indiana. So would it be Indiana Joan or would it be like
her name would be Joan Jones.
Her name would be Joan Jones, but they
Yeah.
would call her another state, Texas, perhaps.
For one thing,
Indianapolis Jones?
if you're gonna just make a gender swapped Indiana Jones, you can still just call her Indiana Jones. I know women with weirder names in Indiana.
Hi, I'm Roth. I'm sitting right next
His
to you.
son's name is Mutt.
At her next time.
Is that his real name, Mutt, by the way?
The Junior.
Junior.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah.
I thought
it was Mutt, yeah.
I just,
that kid's name is Mutt. His name is Junior.
Yeah.
when you say it's Harrison Ford's
Henry
this
Jones
isn't
Jr.
because of Time's Up. It's because Harrison Ford is done, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look, I love him and I'm not age shaming, but like Indiana Jones should have knees. And
as we all know, when you turn 60 something, you lose your knees. You just have shin all the way up.
Look, I'm an age, and my knees are like, they're fine, but they're not Indiana Jones knees. Indiana Jones needs knees. And and just doesn't Harrison just look tired? Doesn't he just look like he wants to fly his plane?
That's his shtick, though, now. Yeah. He's tired old Harrison Ford.
Do you want to watch?
We love it.
Yeah, we love it as a person. I think it's great. Please go on more talk shows and make people feel small and shitty. Like, I love that. That's fantastic. And I will watch it all day long. But, like, he doesn't want to do them anymore. And, of course, that's what always happens when the main actor is like, well, I'm not going to do it anymore. And they're like, well, if I put in another white dude, the internet's going to yell at me. And since I don't feel like dealing with Black Twitter today, I guess I'm going to have to make
No
her a
one will
female.
yell at Indiana Jones. This will go perfectly.
I think Harrison Ford, this actually is the one thing that he did want to do. To your point, we talked about this the other day, and I do feel like a character that's an adventurer, does need to have the vigor. So it does feel to me, I love Harrison Ford too.
I think he's fantastic.
That it should be more like he's passing it along. We should see more of the dynamic that he had with his dad in
Last Crusade?
The third one?
Yes.
And not the one that he had in Crystal Skull. With
not Crystal Skull.
Another person that he was clearly supposed to pass the franchise
But
on to.
I do think he
That isn't
wanted.
gonna
I do
happen.
think he really wanted to do this one. I think
I'll watch him as long as he wants to do them.
Yeah.
I guess, but he just doesn't feel like he wants to do anything but fly planes and piss off the entire city of Santa
he's
Monica.
high all the time. Can we be
know.
honest?
That's hate.
Yeah. He's literally always high.
Is
Never
it, like,
not high. And he
cool,
loves
like, is it what do we think he's high on? Is it like just when you get that old, you just take the handful of pills and you don't know what you're going to be that day?
No, he's smoking up every other minute of every other day. Yeah. He's straight up on the.
right.
He's on the marijuana pill.
Oh.
Just like just a smooth weed gummy.
It's like
Indiana
Harrison
Jones
Ford
in
with
this skull-shaped chalice. Yum on.
Our producer Billy is looking at me like, this is going swimmingly.
You can just go ahead and pop an allegedly. Also in front of anything.
Allegedly.
I was going to take it to a much darker and weirder place, and I guess I will now because I already started the sentence. If you check out the story, the transcript of the story conference that George Lucas, Spielberg, and Kasdan had when they were writing Raiders, and fascinating look at like the three geniuses and their thought process in creating this brilliant film. Also has a point where they're like, he should have had sex with like a 10-year-old girl.
Yep.
Yes. Check it out, Danielle. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep, I was like, oh, we're getting there. We're gonna get to there at some point.
So this is
Yeah,
a
they
fun
talk
full
about,
circle
like,
moment.
How they're like, oh, wouldn't it be fun if because there's that scene where they talk about, she's like, I was a child and you knew better, and like originally they were like, well, look, it would be really interesting if she was 11 or 12, but we'll land around 15.
Yeah.
Once she
Lucas
gets
was
to-
like 15. There's like 15, and then there's 15, and it's
Yeah.
like, wow,
And-
okay,
yeah.
moving on to the bullwhip part.
Wait. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they
Hold
said like
on.
16 or 17 would no longer be interesting.
Yes.
If she was
interesting
16 or
the word they used.
17, it would
That's
no
not
longer be
interesting.
interesting.
Hey,
Times have
guys,
changed, guys. Me
Can
too.
I ask you a question? Is that how we got to short round?
Oh. Well, we decided not to curse today, so instead we bring you
Look it
this
up.
segment. That's
Not making that
insanity.
up.
So Raiders, when we were doing our favorite our favorite Spielberg movies last week, or they're not necessarily the ones that we think are the best, but the ones that we have the strongest attachment to. Mine was going to be Raiders. I did not do that, but now I have a very different feeling about that film.
It
Thank
did make
you,
the
Spencer.
final cut, but now you know the thought process. the
Wow,
background.
that's so insane. So back to the original topic. What do we think of the idea of an Indiana Jones?
I don't think you can do Indiana Jones movies anymore. And
Okay.
not because a lady can't whip a
Jones?
Nazi in the face. Not because Dr. Joan can do a thing, but I feel like the world. I don't know if this is depressing or not, but I don't think there are any MacGuffins left because there's not like a sense of wild exploring or anything in the world anymore. Like the Indiana Jones movies, as they came out, had this sense of like we haven't discovered everything yet. Everything's not on a Google map yet.
Yeah, now we have GPS.
But even
Yeah.
when they came out, they were still period pieces. Like if
Well,
it's
yeah, no,
set
absolutely.
in the 20s.
But
or whatever.
even back then, I think we're still close to the wild Egyptian craze and stuff like that. And by close, I mean 40 years away from it.
You remember
But,
Steve?
you know, when they
King
loved
Tut.
King Tut. I just don't think you can do them anymore without just like really crazy Da Vinci Code level Crystal Skull weirdness. And those aren't Indiana Jones to me.
That's an interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way, but that's actually pretty interesting.
I'm
and
a
it's maybe
depressing
why-
person. I think about that a lot.
Oh, sure. I mean, but that's maybe why I think, yeah, definitely, Joe. Like your wonderful viv and humor hides your pain, just like all of us.
And that's how we got to short round.
No. God,
no, and I just also
cleansing the
Yeah.
mind. I think that's why
Scrubby.
things like I think Indiana
Are you
Jones.
implying that short round? Never mind.
We're getting off the topic of short round. We're no longer going to talk about short round. That's that. It's that. I'm making an executive decision. Damn it.
The dates line up.
Guardians of the Galaxy. To Joe's salient non-short round related point, I think that's why things like Guardians of the Galaxy are successful, because that it is exploring in a place that is completely unexplored, that is a world of pure imagination, if you will. That's interesting. I never thought of that. I thought more like Indiana Jones, like Han Solo, is so associated with Harrison Ford that for me it would be hard to have anyone do it at all that's not him.
Yeah, I love Harrison Ford, and I love Harrison Ford in those movies, and I don't want to see anyone but him as Indiana
Me neither,
Jones.
really.
That's
Yeah.
really all it is.
Yeah.
And if you want to, look, if anyone could actually get a movie about a lady explorer greenlit, I'm going to say it's probably Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
So why don't you just write that movie? Like, if anyone should be free of having to do reboots or worry about any
Because
of
the
that stuff.
studios saw what happened with Tomb Raider like a month ago.
Yeah, like it's Spielberg. If anyone
Didn't
can
go
get
well.
it done, it's him. No, but so like just write a new thing, and I will watch and support and love that new thing.
But set it in space.
Space
I
Lady.
mean, I honestly think, right, like
Space Lady
Star-Lord's-
Jones.
Yeah, well, it does. I mean, I think you're right that may be one of the reasons, even though these were riffing on old serials.
I mean, you could still maybe even riff on. I'd watch Steven Spielberg now riff on Buck Rogers again.
Sure.
Mm.
But yeah, there's something like less appealing these days about watching someone like steal the artifacts of a native tribe.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like that's
Yeah.
what Killmonger was.
Because
angry
we're
about.
like, that's a bad thing to do.
That's how you
how
create a
you get
Killmonger.
Yeah, exactly.
It belongs in a museum
You're
or
right.
our village.
Yeah,
we could
why-
keep it.
We could just keep it here. Yeah, it just does. You know who it doesn't belong to?
You. But you have got cargo shorts. And,
Now you miss the point of the magic of the rock.
Speaking of Killmonger,
uh,
segue.
Ooh, look at that.
AMC Theaters is going to be the first theater chain in Saudi Arabia. We talked about this a while ago, that Saudi Arabia was lifting a 35-year ban on cinemas. AMC chief Adam Aaron went hard, aggressively, to win their bid to have their theaters there, saying, quote, "It's a big news with global significance," on a call with reporters. Like, yeah, that's the vaguest thing you could have said about that. Clearly it is. You're on a call with reporters. But that aside, it's exciting. It's going to open up on April 18th. They did show, and we had talked about this as well, the Emoji Movie, but this was in like pop-up theaters, kind of. There wasn't a proper theater, movie theater there. So this will be the
Oh
first
God!
one.
So that's like the first time that a lot of people had the movie theater experience.
They
with
did,
the
it wasn't a
Emoji
movie theater experience. It was like it was just kind of like a pop-up thing where they were allowed to like collect
Okay.
as a go to a movie. But this is going to be the
the
first
Emoji
cinema.
Movie is the only thing that got me to think Death to America, just for the record.
Well,
I walked out of there, and if there was like a recruitment tent, it would have been game over, man.
this is going really well today. I will say one of our viewers tweeted me about this. He's from Saudi Arabia, and he was like, you know, this is like a really great. This was past when we were talking about when the Emoji Movie was
Yeah.
playing. This is like really exciting
That's
and awesome. And this is, think about never having movie theaters. This guy had to drive miles and miles to go see movies. Now he can go see them. Well, when AMC builds, they're opening about 40 cinemas within about 5 years and 100 theaters in Saudi Arabia by 2030 is their plan. It's got a population of 32 million, and 70%, this is all according to Variety, 70% of whom are under the age of 30. And it's so basically, it's a relatively wealthy country as well. This could end up being one of the bigger markets for movies. Now, granted, there will be some limits to what kinds of movies they will allow to screen there, but the same is true in other markets as well, namely China. Black Panther is going to be the first film that's released there on April 18th,
Heck yeah!
right? That's awesome.
Sure. Yeah, that's interesting.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Good talk.
It's interesting. I'm just wondering because like that's a pretty revolutionary-ish movie for
Black
a
Panther.
monarchy to be like cool with. Like people might take some things away from the thing unless like there's just
Counter-argument.
bars over half the
The
characters.
hero is a king.
Yeah, it does reinforce at the end of the day. You know,
Yeah.
Good to be king.
it's good to be the king.
Yeah.
good
The
to
hero
be
is
the
a king by birth, too. Yeah.
And because he takes the magic weed.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
The thing, the flowers.
well,
As they do in most monarchies.
like the
I don't
Harrison
know.
Ford.
Yeah. I think it's interesting though. Like usually, regionally studios sort of target the UAE as a whole, the United Arab Emirates, and money-wise and return-wise, those territories usually do really, really well. And that's one where, especially if in bigger territories, if a film doesn't perform as well, the UAE was always one of like the big talking points where they're like, but look, it was a surprise hit in the UAE and some of South America, so boom, because those places always
Right.
perform pretty positively. So yeah, I think this is big news. This is going to change a lot of stories for studio distribution methods
Yeah.
in terms of success stories and.
And larger than that, how films are made,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
the kinds of films that are made. That'll be an interest if it really does end up having a massive influence. There's a story that we're going to do tomorrow that I'll tease currently. Global box office revenues way high. The United States domestically all-time low. So more and more, and we've talked about this a lot, we just matter less, and the world does, and the markets that matter in terms of what's performing at the box office will ultimately decide what is narratively what we see on screen. So I wonder how that's going to kind of adjust.
Wouldn't it be interesting if that's how we start to get like more inclusion of people who are Muslim or Islamic, or people who are from Middle Eastern region, is because because money talks, and like that's what happens. And you do see even in it was like Iron Man 3, where like they put in a scene that was specifically like for China essentially. So yeah, that's very interesting. I'm very interested to see how this plays out. And I always think that the more kinds of people on screen, the better.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's a bleak outlook, I guess, but the reason you're going to start getting more and more diversity on film and on TV is money, is economics. And maybe that's a sad way of looking at it, but eventually studios are going to really start to recognize like, oh, hell, like, okay, we're talking globally now. Like domestically, these returns don't matter nearly as much. Danielle and I could speak on this all day, but weirdly, pro wrestling is ahead of the curve on this already. They noticed a couple years ago, like, oh, all of our big markets are not the U.S., so guys waving American flags, punching foreigners isn't working anymore.
we woke Billy up.
Yeah. Well, hey, Billy's awake. And obviously,
Billy with the chair.
yeah. Oh! And, obviously they have a long way to go, but so does entertainment in general. But I think, money
And like
talks,
having
and
women's
that's-
matches in some of those countries now, it's interesting to see how commerce is dictating
entertainment. Yep.
Yep. Well, it feels weird to say that given the conversation what we just had, but our top story today is The Rock lays down the smackdown on Vin Diesel.
You're not going to do a segue here? You're going to say segue? Kind of.
Look at those buttery boys.
Oh.
Here, it could have been, what do you think about the news about
better
Saudi
times.
Arabia? It doesn't matter what you think about the Saudi Arabia because we're talking about The Rock,
We're
and that's
talking
one of
about
his
The Rock.
catchphrases.
The Rock.
Look at all those bald babes.
Some harsh.
Wow.
Series of
Harsh.
gorgeous bald men.
Not a,
Beautiful bald babes.
That is a lot of bald men. Can we see that again?
look at those big, bald, beefy boys.
Yeah, the
That is
quadruple
just
B.
They're no hair. Poor Ludacris, the only one representing hair all the way in the back. They just had to
know.
hide him because he has hair. Luda's my favorite. So The Rock is coming out with some very strong words for Vin. Now we know that he teased last year that he was having problems with one of his co-stars. We knew who it was, calling him both unprofessional and a candy ass, both things.
Take that, Scott Walker.
He cut a promo. Okay.
No, I did not think it could get worse than short round.
It's clearly a joke. He's talking about Vin, the candy ass Diesel.
So in a new profile in Rolling Stone, he revealed that the scene that they had together, the single scene that they had together in the movie, the last film, The Fate of the Furious, completely a product of editing. They never shot together. They weren't,
Oh, that was very clear.
They weren't
That
able.
wasn't a mystery.
Well, we
His
knew
back
that.
was turned to him the whole
Yeah.
time, and then it would like, whoop, like to the other side of the barbecue.
And it was like
then it's
clearly-
look at the Rock over there. He's okay.
He's an okay guy. He said this: "We were not in any scenes together. Vin and I had very few discussions. I had a few discussions, including an important face-to-face in my trailer. And what I came to realize is that we have a fundamental difference in philosophies on how we approach movie making and collaborating. It took me some time, but I'm grateful for that clarity. Whether we work together again or not, I wish him all the best. And I harbor no ill will there, just because of the clarity we have." Pauses. You know what?
Nailed the Rock's
Actually, you could erase the last part about no ill will. We'll just keep it with the clarity. Ooh.
Look,
Harsh Philly words.
it has
I'm
got
finding new curse words.
it's got to be hard for someone to go from being the star of a franchise to having to take a backseat to The Rock.
Yeah, but you know what? Can I keep it real here for a second?
Sure.
I'm worried about Vin. I truly
too.
am, because
Agree.
I understand all the rumors about him. I understand that he keeps people waiting. He keeps the press waiting. There's just something about him that I find endearing, and I feel like he is self-sabotaging. He is one golden egg. One. The Rock has many. He is the Fast and the Furious. And if he's gonna like do self-destructive things, it upsets me. I know that's irrational.
Right.
Yeah, he's insane, but I only base that on the anecdote of when we did one of the Fast and Furious junkets, and he was 45 minutes late, and he came in with an assistant who was holding a Beats pill, like playing a personal soundtrack to his entrance.
No, I know.
So it's like, oh, you're insane.
Yeah. No.
I would do that.
I mean, I
For
would
sure.
too.
And I
if
think
I
he
had an
probably
assistant.
has
Their only job.
he got really high in his own supply and started demanding more and more things, and he keeps people waiting, not just the press, but I think probably on set, and that's why they had so much trouble, is because The Rock is very, very professional, and he just probably wants to get the day done so he can go do other things.
Because he does have a lot of other things to
do.
Yeah.
But
He's a busy man.
but I don't know. Like, I gotta say, I read this. The Rock also says he may not appear in the next installment of the franchise set for 2020, but he is going to do the spinoff with Jason Statham. So he may just be like, I'm going to have my own Fast and Furious franchise without Vin Diesel. Where does that leave Vin? Like, people are going to that for The Rock.
Tyrese gonna be so mad.
Oh, it's
Well, that's a whole
Poor
other story.
Tyrese.
Poor Tyrese.
I would, after the last one, I would rather watch the Statham
Me
Rock
too.
spin-off. But, family. It's family for life. Those
Yeah.
bonds can never be broken.
Yeah,
Seemingly
I felt
not.
weird
That
when
means-
we went from Coronas to Budweiser. That felt
very
weird.
strange.
Yeah,
That was wrong. So yeah, if family means filming all of your scenes at a separate location and awkwardly splicing them in,
Which, to be fair, a lot of the time that's exactly what family means.
Look, if I would go to Thanksgiving every year if it would just be me occasionally Skyping in.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
this turkey's delicious, and then
Yum.
like as soon as they start doing all their family stuff, I'm like, okay, I'll be
Mute.
back.
Yeah.
my
Yeah, I'll be at you.
But yeah, and then this could, some degree of this, as tempers cool and money rises, could be a little bit of like, what's the wrestling word? The kafab?
Kayfabe.
Kafab.
Kafab?
Kafabe!
Of, like,
Hey!
this could be hyping up like the showdown between Vin and The
that's
Rock.
true.
I mean,
Yeah.
if anyone knows their kayfabe, that's
It would
and
be
if
him.
anyone knows how to work the media and cut a promo that would make you want to do a thing.
It's
That's
Dwayne
true.
Johnson.
But I think there's
Johnson.
some truth to this.
I think there's a lot
There's
of
always
truth
truth
to
to
it.
Yeah.
promos. That's how you cut a good promo, my dude.
Yep.
Am I the only one that's worried about Vin Diesel?
No, I think look, Vin's got enough money to just go play
Yeah.
D&D for the rest of his
He
life.
does not
Um,
seem fiscally responsible, Joe.
Probably.
I don't know. Does he have a
Probably
wine?
not.
Like, what is he? Do we know what his other
know what he
adventures
does.
are?
He's playing D&D with his assistant and two street sharks.
Yep.
Pan shark.
Like, really, most of his other
that video up,
adventures
too, guys.
have failed. Riddick failed. He had like a video game company a while. Like he's not.
Triple X,
Yeah, Triple X.
pretty good.
I
The
love
new one.
Yeah.
It was so
Yeah.
That was pretty great.
Yeah.
He
I walked in-
surfs a jungle. He skis
Yeah.
a
He does.
jungle.
And I
He
mean,
does ski a jungle.
he's got Guardians, but anyone could be I Am Groot, and
Yeah.
that's just kind of a sad thing.
I mean, at this point, you can't like get it. It's like you can't replace. Oh wait, they did replace the Affleck duck. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Like
Nothing's-
immediately,
I
like-
guess nothing's sacred anymore.
Like immediately after that thing happened.
Yeah.
I could see having some weird problems with this whole production because I mean and rightfully so. Him and Paul Walker were really close, and they were so tied up in this
Yeah.
together. You lose Paul Walker, now this other dude like literally takes the franchise from you. I'd be a little butt hurt.
A little
I'd be
saddie pants, yeah, a little sad.
I'd be a little
Possessive, a
hurt.
little like throwing your weight around. Like I'm the alpha and the omega of this of the Fast and
I'm
Furious
dominant,
thing.
Yeah.
frickin' Toretto.
I made
Yeah.
you. I can end you.
I
You
mean,
can't.
look at his weird videos with Michelle Rodriguez, where
Oh, the hostage videos.
Oh my
you
God.
love me, don't you? And just hugging her really close, and then like if that's how you're used to running your set, and then a much larger pretty bald man comes in and starts doing that to you, it's like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And a much larger, pretty bald man who was like, we don't know if he's campaigning for anything, but his whole life is a campaign.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what, if the president thing happens or not, he's going to live a life of kissing babies. Like, that is who The Rock is.
That is who The Rock
he's
is.
charming for a living. And so imagine you've been kind of being able to strong arm your set, and big, famouser guy comes in, and he is ruling not through fear, but through love.
Well, I mean, like
is stronger.
I love The Rock too, and he can have and will have many other franchises. He's got Jumanji right now, and I think he knows that he does not need the Fast and the Furious. That the Fast and the Furious ultimately will need him.
That's why Tyrese is so mad, because Tyrese is like, look, like if you start to go off and do your own thing, like, and in many more videos that were way longer, but essentially that was why he was upset, is because
Where does that leave
knows
Tyrese?
where does that leave Tyrese? Paying a lot of child support, according to all of his videos.
Yeah, but it also leaves. I mean, the last person that, well, I mean, as much as it's about family, it's really about The Rock. You know, like at this point, that's a franchise that started out with that. Vin tried to go do XXX, and he's like, I can just do my own thing. That's not that. As much as you and I appreciate it, and that Sasha and I walked out and she said, I mean, that was magical.
Yeah.
Wasn't as successful as the Fast and the Furious.
But it'll get there.
He skateboards on the side of a bus.
It's amazing.
A soccer player stops a robbery by kicking a napkin holder, like penalty kicking it into a mugger's brain.
And then there's an explosion. It's just.
But yeah, if The Rock and Vin Diesel ever like really came to blows, I feel like The Rock could just like boop, and then Vin Diesel, like a cartoon, would sink into the ground.
Yeah, both
Just
literally
as
and
above.
metaphorically.
Yeah.
Both. So, Vin, we're worried about you.
Roll that D20 to saving throw your Fast and Furious franchise, buddy.
We know what it feels like to feel unappreciated. We've all felt that way at different points in our lives. We know what it feels like to feel like someone's wrestling into your territory. And damn it, that hurts a little bit. And you're right to express your feelings in any way you need to. But now's the time to dig deep and think of the family. Think of the Torettos. Think of Mia, who's off there, off screen, living her life with her off screen baby, raising your off screen niece or nephew, I can't remember which. Think of them and get it together and go and Skype over a nice turkey drumstick with The Rock. Okay.
All right, nice.
Very nice, very lovely.
Today, you have to look forward on movie fights. Danielle Radford versus Mark Andreyko versus Carlson.
This is a really good
ridiculous
fight.
That's an
gonna be
amazing
awesome.
fight.
Yeah, it's gonna be so dumb. I'm gonna be so dumb.
Yeah.
I'm so unpracticed. I'm just used to like counting my corgs while everybody else does the fight, and now I gotta fight. I gotta
You
come
gotta
up
fight.
with
I'm
These
gonna-
guys
I'm
haven't
gonna-
been on in forever, so you're like fresh, you know?
Yeah, you've
Yeah.
been watching, you've been training.
Yeah.
We've got the training sequence.
do like a little
Pretty good.
montage.
Yeah. I'm going to step into your shoes, so I don't know how that works either. And
It's gonna be great.
Good luck
they're
with
gonna
that.
They're gonna send you corgis.
I'm just going to make up numbers for the who won what. Warning, your votes don't count. A Quiet Place review is here on News. You can watch that. Tons of fun stuff on both channels. Please stay tuned. We will be back tomorrow with lots of things. Tease, it might be about Zack Snyder.